Welcome to Conference Central for District 7030 Conference 2021. My name is Albert Daniels, and I will be guiding you through this evening's proceedings. It is fair to say, using the analogy of a relay race in athletics, that District 7030 had nothing short of an explosive start out of the starting blocks on the first 2 days of PETS. Starting with the highly energized and electric motivational speaker, Raphael Saul, on day 1, to Rotary International President-elect Shekhar Mehta, who challenged every Rotarian to take the time to cultivate and induct one new member who would have the potential to shake the earth, as he put it, after being inducted. The lineup of speakers made touching, inspirational, and valuable presentations, all designed to refresh and revive District 7030 in the true spirit of Rotary, and also they called us to action. Those who missed those 2 days of PETS missed a Rotary treat, skillfully engineered by District Governor-elect Sonia Aline and her district team. Today, the baton is being handed over to the team who will run the pre-conference program over the next 4 days. And this will cover elevating Rotaract, which we will do this evening, service to Rotary, which we will do tomorrow, peace in Rotary on Wednesday, and Rotary in the environment on Thursday. So, picture, if you will, District Governor-elect Sonia Aline coming around the corner of the track at high speed with the baton in her hand, ready to pass it on to the runners of the team for this week. This is Rotary District 7030 in a race against poverty, a race for clean water, a race to provide assistance to the less fortunate in our community. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, it is my pleasure to hand you over to past District Rotaract representative and chair of the Rotary Satellite Club of St. Lucia, Sunset, Rotarian Everestus Jean-Marie, who will guide you through this evening's proceedings. Rotarian Everestus.
Thank you very much, Past President Albert. And tonight, we're going to be hearing from the leadership of Rotaract, who is going to let us know what happened in Rotaract this year and how Rotaract has been elevated. And then we're going to move into next year's theme, focus, logo, and how Rotaract will be elevated even more. Our presenters this evening are going to be District Rotaract Representative-elect Mario and District Rotaract Representative Kevan Bryce. DRRE Mario has been a member of the Rotaract Club of Barbados since 2016, a former Rotaractor of the Year and former co-chair of RILA that was held in Barbados. I personally met DRRE Mario during one of my DRR visits to Barbados when we were still able to travel freely. And one of the things that stood out to me is that there are some people, when you meet them, you immediately see the leadership qualities. And that was definitely what I saw in Mario. Customer care specialist who is currently pursuing a bachelor's in management, ladies and gentlemen, DRRE Mario. Alongside him, we are current District Rotaract representative, a member of Piarco UE since 2013, and District Webmaster from 2014 to 2018. I met Kevan probably before 2016, but my first real memory was conference in St. Lucia, which was good times. I've always had a strong liking for Kevan, been one of my favorite Rotaractors, and I've always been looking forward to the day where he would lead our district. I think my affinity for him stood in that we both had a shared love for fun whilst in pursuit of service. So Rotarians, Rotaractors, guests, please give a very warm welcome to DRRE Mario and recently pinned Paul Harris Fellow, DRR, Kevan Bryce.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Me and Mario will have you for a bit just to give you a little update on what's going on with Rotaract. So they say the years of youth are a terrible thing to waste, and no one associated with Rotaract can say that they've wasted their youth. Rotaract has provided so much opportunities for us to give back, for us to connect, for us to grow, and hopefully into eternally youthful Rotarians. So today, we'll give a brief history of Rotaract. We'll take a look at how Elevate Rotaract has and will change things. We will look at the updates on what the district is looking like currently, the wonderful projects that we've been doing. And then I'll hand you over to Mario, who will talk about the immediate future. So just to give a brief history of Rotaract, it was officially inaugurated in January 2068. Now, January 2068 is the inauguration, but the actual first club was chartered in March 13th of 1968. That was sponsored by the Rotary Club of North Charlotte in North Carolina. So although that was the first official club, there were clubs that were doing, Rotarians that were sponsoring similar organizations for young adults since the 1920s. So Interact, fun fact, has actually been in existence since 1962 for Rotaract, and there was a immediate success that caused Rotarians to realize that there was a little gap in between interactors and Rotarians. So that gap they saw as a need for something that they could fill. So initially, there was an idea to extend the age into something closer to the timelines. And there was also different proposals for maybe how they can maybe adapt the tune. But in the end, what they came about with was for Rotaract, which would be a combination of Rotary and Interact, as well as a combination of the words Rotary and Action, which is what we commonly know as Rotary in Action today. So just like at the inception of Rotaract, there was a gap and they identified it. Just recently, there was another gap that Rotary International has identified, and that has been the attempt to alleviate that gap is now Elevate Rotaract. So it's been something new to us, and what it's done is Rotary International Elevate Rotaract Task Force has given Rotaract a new standing within the Rotary family. So Rotaractors are now full-fledged partners. So as partners, the relationship, I believe, is different, but still the same. Some clubs would have already started to get into the groove of things in terms of understanding what this new partnership looks like. And DRC, Giselle and DG Lyle have been such huge supporters. So this new chapter, we'll just kind of go through what exactly it looks like. So we're going to navigate the space as one thing, first and foremost, is that Rotaract clubs can establish a new club with or without a sponsor. That's very big. That's very different because the relationship between Rotaract and Rotary clubs has been something secret for years. Now, does that mean it will change completely and all clubs will be independent? No. But it does mean that there is a level of autonomy that is available to Rotaract clubs now that was previously not allowed. There's also the ability for Rotaract clubs to sponsor other Rotaract clubs. That's something that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure how well it'll work in terms of the financial part of it, because you know Rotaract is maybe not as comfortable as Rotarians yet. So, but it means that there are a lot of different things that can happen. You know, the opportunities are there. Rotaract clubs are no longer limited to 30 years old. Now, that's a big one. That's something that I, at first, myself was a little bit confused about because I was not sure how it would integrate into the wider idea of trying to get more Rotaractors to turn to Rotarians. But I understand a lot better now that it's a long-term thing. It's not about trying to get Rotaractors to turn into Rotarians instantly. It's trying to keep them within the Rotary family as long as possible, keep them comfortable, and then they can transition smoother. Because I know a lot of good Rotaractors who've been Rotaractors for only a year or two because they heard about Rotaract at 28, and then, you know, they feel like, oh, well, I'm 30 in 2 years, so I'm not going to get a chance to really grow and learn. And what that does is now makes it a little easier for them to be comfortable in this space. I no longer feel like there's this eminent feeling of needing to leave very soon, you know. So I think it's a really important addition, and I have seen it in action as I've already seen Rotaractors coming back into the fold already this year. And one of the other things also is encouraging, Rotary's been encouraged to include Rotaractors on different district committees. Now 70/30 has been really good at this so far. We've allowed a lot of Rotaractors to become part of different committees and learn from Rotarians things that we may not have previously been exposed to. A good example of this would be Renee Bailey, who is on the Rotary Foundation Committee, and she's been crusading up and down, you know, trying to make sure that Rotaractors understand what the foundation is about, how we can involve, and how we can start to contribute, because we'll soon have access to the foundation. So it's great to see so far, and I'm sure it will pick up even further as we go along. One of the other things that'll be coming into play will be a dues payment to RI, as well as the RI president and the RI board of directors. We will consider how Rotaractors might advise them on Rotaract. So what are the goals that Elevate Rotaract is aiming for? Yeah. So yeah, 3 I think are really achievable aim goals would be the 100% increase in membership from 2022, an increased number of reported Rotaractors who join Rotary by 2022, by 20% by 2022, and increase the number of reported Rotaractors by 1 million to 1 million by 2029. So to give you some context on what, to give you some context as to what that looks like in our district. We currently have, so finishing up the last Rotary year, we had 46 clubs with 634 members. And as of March 2021, we have 48 clubs with 997 members, which is a 64% increase so far, which is really good. And hopefully we have some more by the end of this year. I'll put Mario in a good position for 2020. So definitely we've been doing good. We've been, you know, despite all the challenges of the pandemic in the air, we've been getting members in. We've had 908 Rotaractors registered on our website. With the help of Giselle and Sean Paddy, we've been getting integrated to Club Runner. We've been getting a lot of push to kind of understand the facilities that Rotary uses, and we kind of navigate in the shared space now. So just kind of go back now into the district a little bit. The district itself, we are relatively young. Our first club was established in 1978. The latest one would be Rotaract Club of Penal last year in 2020. And the first established DRR we had was in 1986. So kind of going forward, we kind of like to look at how our district has been shaped and how it's going forward, how we have been shaping it going forward. So looking at kind of how our leadership has been, we've had 11 DRRs from Trinidad and Tobago. We've had 7 from St. Lucia, 3 from Guyana, 3 from St. Vincent, 2 from Suriname, 2 from Antigua, and then 1 from Dominica, Grenada, Martinique, Montserrat. We have 1 from Barbados coming up, and that's the first one, so we look forward to that. And we also have a very good split of male to female leadership, which is 17 to 17. So we have, you know, equal. It's not there's no lopsidedness. You know, the feature is female also because the DRRN, DRRD is also female. So, you know, we have a lot of representation. And the average age is 27 point something. You know, we have a good, you know, age where they have some experience also. So far this year, we've had a lot of projects that we were able to execute, 749 in total, 305 in the first quarter, 242 in the second, and 202 in the third. And then broken down into the different avenues of service, we have 123 international service, 141 community service, 144 club service, 72 finance, 110 professional development, 65 trainings, and then 94 PR projects. So one of the things that I've been learning about the projects as we've gone along this year is some things have been easier to do, some things have been a little more difficult. Finance projects have been a little harder. I guess that kind of shows here. But one of the things I'm happy to see is that international service projects have been a lot better. And that is something that has been maybe not weaker, but definitely not as strong as it has been in this past year. So, and that's obviously with the virtual nature of things these days, it's a lot easier to do these kind of international service projects. So there are some positives that we've been seeing from the data, and something that we hope that we can keep going forward. You know, we hope that the international service projects are strong going forward also. Yeah, so breaking down that information a little more, we have a breakdown of how many of each of these projects that we had per quarter. It is common, the trend of having, you know, the first quarter is usually everybody starts off very excited. Second quarter also usually close by. And then the third quarter, I think a lot of people focus on World Rotaract Week. So the activity is a little more concentrated around a certain time and not as, you know, frequent all throughout the quarter. So it's a little different. And then the fourth quarter, well, we don't have that information yet, but hopefully at the end of the year, we'll be able to have a nice chart also to see the whole picture. In terms of volunteer hours, we have a breakdown of what this looks like. But this information, after kind of the caveat, is that it's based on 2 submission projects per club. So it's not the full picture, but it is a good estimation to see how much volunteer hours have been put in by the Rotaractors. And on average, you can see how many volunteer hours are done per project and per quarter. So as you can see, you know, they've been putting a lot of hours and a lot of time into these projects. Similarly, there's the funds that were raised based on the submissions of fundraisers. We can see how much average profits we make per fundraiser. And given these circumstances, I think clubs have really been going out and doing some really innovative projects to try to make funds for their clubs, you know. So it's, as I said, it's limited data because we don't have everything. We don't tell them to submit all of their projects, just the ones that they would like to be considered for outstanding projects. So speaking of those outstanding projects, I just wanted to highlight a few of them. There's no particular, just some projects that I would have seen and heard about from the clubs themselves. And I think just to kind of highlight what they've been able to do, some of the innovations that they were able to do, and just to kind of show a sample of what clubs have been up to. There are so many projects. This is not to exclude anyone. It's just to have a quick sample. So this project from the Rotaract Club of Aruba. So it's interesting because when we spoke to them, they were telling us this is one of their projects that they love to have every year, but they had to make some adjustments because of COVID. So because of they couldn't have the same setup in person like they usually would, they had to do a virtual contest. And through a social media campaign, they would have had participants submitting dance videos, jingles, that kind of thing. And then the families for the finalists would have been invited to a drive-in theater to enjoy like food and movies and that kind of thing. And then they have prizes at the end. So obviously they would have to scale down everything. They would not have been able to do the same type of project, but it's like a little pageant, and it's a really cool, like listening to it, I'm like, oh, this is actually really innovative way to kind of adapt and still do the same project that they would have done every year. The Rotaract Club Post West, they had a blindness awareness campaign. So they would have invited their Caribbean neighbors, which is Pointe-à-Pitre, as well as Southeast Nassau from Bahamas, to celebrate World Rotaract Week. They would have had a blind awareness campaign where they would have done different activities in the dark as well as dinner in the dark, you know, to kind of let people kind of experience and see what that feeling of blindness is like and give a better awareness of how difficult it might be to live that kind of life, you know. And I thought it was really, really innovative and cool. So the Rotaract Club of Central Port of Spain, who has a roots exchange with a different club in 7030, they usually have an actual physical exchange of persons. What they were not able, of course, they're not able to do it this year. So what they did was they partnered with Barbados West as well as St. Martin. They would have had an exchange this year, but a virtual one, where they had 4 days where each country was able to showcase their unique heritage, the history, the culture, and it culminated in a talent show to show what the different clubs in 7030 and 7020 had for their culture. So it's a nice way to adapt a project that would have benefited from being in person. Clubs, all normal projects like beach cleanups, clubs are also still able to do them and in different ways. So the Rotaract Club of St. Augustine was able to link up with some other organizations in Trinidad and have a beach cleanup that had over 150 persons participating, but instead of having it, you know, everybody all over the place, they would have had it broken up into groups and teams of 10. We were able to do a lot of work, and so it's the same idea, same normal beach cleanup that you would do, but, you know, still trying to keep it within the guidelines of the situation now. The Rotaract Club of Georgetown had a childhood obesity awareness campaign where within the World Rotaract Week, they were able to collaborate with the Rotary Club of Georgetown. They sought to sensitize adults and children on the risks associated with childhood obesity, promote healthier lifestyles among children, and also included an awareness campaign on social media as well as mural painting. The Rotaract Club Pointer Pete, who did a self-defense training class, which is obviously something that's very relevant and useful today. It helped a lot of their members. Their feedback was that it was really well received, and it made it feel a lot less vulnerable in situations. The Rotaract Club of University of Guyana had a sign language class. They're not the only club that did it, actually. I think it's a really innovative way to tackle the language barrier so there was breaking language barriers is one of the international service aims of this year. So a lot of clubs did a lot of different projects to kind of do that, but the sign language was a kind of innovative way to kind of use that same idea, but for a different meaning. And I think it came off really well. So University of Guyana did it. I believe my club also did, and I think there was another club also. So it was a really interesting and innovative project to me. The Rotaract Club of Fresh executed a project on the coast where their primary goal was to contribute to the coastal protection and conservation. So under the supervision of an external professor, they were able to plant approximately 100 trees. And this is an awesome project to kind of line up with the new Rotary area focus. The Rotaract Club of Piako Yui, which is my club, had a joint meeting with the Rotaract Clubs of Asia Pacific University, as well as CGU College Kuala Lumpur, which is in Malaysia. And this country and Trinidad and Tobago have the same Independence Day, something I never knew. So we had a joint meeting where we would listen to each other's anthems, discuss the language, local dishes. So each of us would have been able to try to attempt to make a local dish one from Malaysia, one from Trinidad, on each other's side. Talk about music. There was a special steel pan performance of a Malaysian song, and as well as a little segment where they exchanged the language and the different dialects and different phrases. So honestly, it was in all my years of Rotaract, I think it was one of the coolest little international services projects that I can remember, because it was something I really probably never would have expected given the circumstances. So, and then finally, the Rotaract Club of Barbados. This is actually Club of the Year from last year. There are many, many innovative projects, but this one I thought was just a simple cool one that I think is something I always encourage clubs to do, which is repeatability, which is every quarter trying to do the same thing to increase the impact. And that's something I have seen with their club in particular. You know, they have projects that run over in time, quarter to quarter. So their blood drive was not just for one quarter, it was for multiple quarters. And they also would have had a concurrent challenge of, you know, having their members split up into different teams to compete and have a certain amount of steps per day. And I just think it's a good way to kind of encourage them to be, you know, one is the fitness and the next is to give back. And it's something that I think all clubs can benefit from, that idea of trying to do dual things as well as doing it over and over in different consecutive quarters and months, you know. So that was, speaking of Rotaract Club of Barbados, I'll hand you over to one of their most valuable experts, which is Mario. He can take you into what is coming up for the Rotaract.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kevin. Are you going to continue this slideshow? You want me to take over? Okay, so good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am DRRE Mario Boyce from the Rotaract Club of Barbados. And here on screen, you have the 2021 to 2022 Rotaract District 7030 theme. DR Kevin has spoken to a bit of what we were trying to do last year in breaking the language barrier. And we want to continue the great work started as identified by our strategic plan. So instead of coming each year and starting from scratch, we're looking to continue work and have an even larger impact. So this year, the theme was selected carefully after reviewing what we've done in the past, what the upcoming RI district theme is, which is serve to make a difference, and what we'd like to achieve. We came up with the theme mix up and blend. So if you notice here, the coloring is very specific. We've used a lot of the Rotary and Rotaract colors within the theme logo for representation. We're also going to be having it presented in both English and French. So in French, it is pronounced mélangez-vous. And if I'm speaking too fast, please let me know. Mix up and blend. We are asking the Rotaractors from District 7030, which comprises of 17 countries and territories. It's one of the most unique Rotary districts in the world. I think there are only 2 other districts that have such a diverse mix. We carry a diverse mix of languages as well as cultures. And Mix Up and Blend is seeking to highlight that. We want to present that to the international market, but also to highlight the theme of the next RA president. We want the Rotaractors, and by chance the Interactors and Rotarians, to utilize the skills and the unique selling points from different clubs. So if you see all those wonderful projects just presented, and you see something that your club can adopt, we want you to mix up and blend. Because you've been doing it the same way over and over does not mean you have to. Mix up and blend means we are to highlight our differences. We are to wear them on our sleeves as a badge of honor and come together and use it for our benefit, sorry. We're one dish, and we're gonna be sustaining our communities. We're gonna provide nutritional value to our communities by mixing it up and making it even better for them. We're gonna give them a lasting impact. Because if you go to dinner, you're gonna have one of your favorite dishes. One of my favorite dishes is sushi. And when I go to dinner, I have this awesome variety of sushi, but it's a mixture of traditional Japanese culture, Caribbean foods, as well as American technique. And that provides a lasting, memorable impact. And that's what District 7030 is going to do by mixing up and blending. We're going to mix up and blend to serve our communities better and have a lasting impact for service. We're going to mix up and blend and have a lasting impact on the international stage as well. We're going to take it further and let persons see what we have to offer and how we can do more and serve even more to make a lasting difference and a bigger difference. And those of you who know me, you would know that food is something very near and dear to my heart. And if it's something that I'm passionate about, I'm sure that the passion then is conveyed to the entire district, and we can have even better participation from the clubs. Okay, Mike, can you hit the next slide, please? Okay, so getting to the goals and objectives of the next year. We're continuing on from the strategic goal, the strategic plan that we would have set out and started. And we are going to be identifying the goals for next year. So first of all, we're going to grow the district and increase transition rates throughout the Rotary family. This is one thing that I would have noticed coming through Rotaract, that we have a multiplicity of programs, but the transition rate of persons and the continuity through the family is lacking. And if we can honestly improve upon that, there's no stopping us. Our growth is going to be fantastic. Our impact is going to be phenomenal. And that's what we want to have. We want to have lasting growth and phenomenal impact. That way our communities at large are served even better. So we're going to have programs and challenges going out towards Rotaractors and interactors. So what we want to do is to have at least one interactor be, I want to say, encouraged and groomed to join a Rotaract club within their community. If each Rotaract club can groom and encourage an interactor to come into their clubs, that is growth for the clubs, but it also shows continuity across all programs. And if we can do the other way and groom a Rotaractor who is ready of their own volition to then go on to a Rotary club of their choice. The world has changed since the pandemic was first brought about in 2020, living happy. And we have changed as Rotarians and Rotaractors. There are a multiplicity of clubs and meetings, and I'm sure that other Rotaractors who are of the age and of the mature mind want to move on to Rotary, and they have the opportunity now to do so. You can meet online, you can meet in person, there are even hybrid meetings. Shout outs to my Rotary club. And that way we can encourage Rotaractors to get out there, meet their Rotary counterparts, get comfortable with them, and eventually join their clubs. And this is going to be in the plans and objectives for next year as part of the Club of the Year criteria. We want to have continuous movement through all programs. I might have skipped out early act, but we want to have that as well. We want to have early act to interact to Rotaract, Rotary to Rotaract to Rotary, keeping everything moving just like that Rotary wheel. If that wheel doesn't move, we all stagnate and nothing happens. Another one of the goals we have for next year is increasing the inter-district 70-30 collaboration. We have a wealth of knowledge and a multiplicity of persons who are passionate, who know their stuff, and we don't lean on it enough. Mixing up and blending, we're going to lean on that, we're going to get support from it, and we are going to do better and be better. We're going to make a difference, we're going to leave our mark. We are going to be the champions for community service that we are supposed to be. We're going to show excellence through quality, and we're going to always do our best. Now, you would have heard several different themes from the past years in my little statement just now. And that just goes to show that we are going to keep building and continuing by mixing up and blending what the past district representatives would have done, and it's going to keep ever increasing our impact. If we can lean on that multiplicity of persons and that wealth of knowledge, there's nothing that we cannot do. Another goal for next year is going to be brand refocusing. Now, after the pandemic, we have had a lot of persons who are clubs, who have been, I guess, struggling to find their brand or maintain their brand. Using the district PRO, we're going to be having clubs carry out SWOT analysis to find out what their strengths are and how they can better benefit from them and how they can use them to the benefits of their clubs and their communities. We want the clubs to carry out these analyses and use their strengths for the betterment of all. And one of the final goals for next year is renewing the Rotaract heart and spirit. I know it's going to be said, and it has been said time and time again, Rotaract has changed due to the pandemic. Our vibrancy, our interactivity, our vibes have been off because we have not been able to be there in person. We've not been able to do what we're accustomed to doing and celebrating. We've been forced to innovate, and it has been a stressful time. But we want to get back to the heart and spirit of Rotaract and do what we do best. We want to get out there and be in person and be performing actions. So with all of the things that are going on now within our district and in the world, the vaccines being where they are, we can get back there soon. We just need to plan to be as careful as possible and effective as possible when we're going forward with what we want to do. So you can see how mixing up and blending is coming into play with all the goals that we have here. These are just the overall goals. There are going to be some other goals based on the different arms of service and the different district team leads so that they all play a part. Mix up and blend is just not one of those catchphrases that it sounds good and it looks good. It's one of those things that has a holistic approach and holistic benefits. We also want to increase district relations with our sister district, District 7020. We have a fantastic relationship and we can only get better if we improve on it. We want to improve on our community service activities. We want to focus on our international service activity and take District 7030 to the globe. We want to highlight to persons that we are different, and different is nothing bad. It's something that we are proud of and that we are having lasting effect for because we are embracing it. I've just spoken about membership as well. And one last thing we want to focus on, and this I think is very impactful, is going to be very impactful, sorry, and very important. We want to focus on preparation for and surviving of the increased frequency and severity of hurricanes, weather phenomena, and natural disasters. Case in point, 2 weeks ago, we would have seen the eruption of the volcano in St. Vincent. If we can actually focus more as a district on preparing our Rotaractors to identify natural disasters that could possibly hit their territories and formulate plans that they can use to quickly prepare their communities, as well as respond to any needs that their members or the communities may have, we stand a better chance of surviving these natural disasters and mitigating loss of life, damages, as well as we're looking to limit the amount of downtime we have between responding to natural disaster and getting back to business as usual. The incoming District Disaster Preparedness Officer, Ayana Evelyn from the Rotaract Club of Barbados South, is very passionate about this as well as I am. We in District 7030 form up, or are part of, the small island developing states that suffer very, very terribly from global warming. And if we can prepare ourselves even better for the natural disasters, the hurricanes, and the weather phenomena that are seen to be ever increasing because of global warming, we can do a lot more. We can serve our communities even better. And I think it prepares us in the long run to take things more seriously. Okay, that's the general overview of next year. Are there any questions for me?
Well, at this point, let me just say, before we jump into questions, that thank you guys for that wonderful presentation. There's so much information in there, and it does highlight initially the benefits of reporting, because you're able to have a clear idea of where you stand and especially where you're going. Mario, I love your theme, mix up and blend. The chat loves it, everyone loves it. Kudos to you on that. And I like the idea of encouraging interactors to join Rotaract to keep that family of Rotary extending. I do want to make a note on advice of my lawyer. I've been asked to speak to you afterwards for the use of do better, be better, but we'll talk about this afterwards. But your plans were amazing, clear, laid out, precise. I do believe that's why we do not have any questions, but I would double check. Okay, we have one here from District Conference Chair, Conrad Wagner. With the ambitious growth goal for Rotaract, do you have any plans on how to achieve that?
Yes, so one of the things I want to mention just now is finding the Rotaract brand. So finding the Rotaract brand has several key benefits to it. One, we can identify readily how we can help those in our communities, but with also identifying our brand, we can also market ourselves to the person in our communities who may want to join. We can make ourselves more appealing by utilizing that brand and doing more impactful projects and assisting communities more. So just by being up there and doing what we do and finding the best solution for it and utilizing our brand, we will additionally have a positive effect or a side effect of growth.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. Do we have any more questions from the chat? From DJ, how do we get Rotaract members to move into Rotary so that we can have an increase in membership?
All right, so one of the key things here we need to be very cognizant of and careful of is not pressuring Rotaract members to move on when they're not ready to. Persons do not do things successfully if they're not ready. Sometimes a push can be helpful, but can also be very harmful. Talk to your members utilizing the membership chairs in each club, and we can always talk to the Rotarians, and we can form a bridge to move Rotaractors who are ready and prepared to move on into Rotary clubs.
Okay, thank you. Let me give a quick shout out to our 7020 family in the chat, Clayton. He's asking if there's any possibility of a physical joint conference. I guess that's, I don't know how much of that is up to you, but I mean, the question's there, I'll put it out.
At this point in time, I'm not going to say no. We can always explore the possibility of it and see what can happen.
Wonderful. And from Leah, Rotarian Leah, what advice would you give to Rotary clubs to mix up and blend with Rotary members to attend and participate in Rotary activities? I don't know if Rotaract is supposed to be in there, but I'm reading the question as is.
I see. So one of the things that I can speak of for my country and the clubs here, the Rotarians do respond to a lot of the marketing that we do, as well as the benefits of the events that we are having. If the Rotaractors can form a better bridge or relationship with their Rotary clubs, that can increase the Rotarians coming out, give them advance notice, as well as use them for key areas of support, not just to come out and become part of the event or as a patron, but to lean on them for support and guidance to get their buy-in into the planning of the activity as well. When they're doing these sort of things, they feel more involved and they feel better to come out and see directly what we want to see, what they have been working towards. Additionally, you can also find there's a nice mix of Rotarians and Rotaractors on the Youth Service Committee team for Rotary Club of Barbados, sorry. And that also helps to get the Rotarians out as well, because they readily have the information and they're also invested in it.
Okay, great. Past DRR Delon would like to know what you've noted as the major challenge for your year.
I can't answer that at this time. I honestly haven't assumed the roles yet, so I can't see what challenge is going to be my major. What I do see is a significant challenge for the next year is getting persons back into the Rotaract spirit, and as well as getting back to what we used to do. Because we've had now a significant period of time where we had to be on lockdown, social distancing, masked up, and innovating all of our projects. So reverting to what we used to do back in 2019 is going to be a significant challenge. I'm not sure if it's going to be my major challenge, however.
Okay, great. And past DRR Delon again, and this one is at DRR Kevan, a little chance for you to answer some questions. What inspired you the most of this current year?
This year, it's been, you know, we are in the situation that we are in, so, you know, everybody has to deal with it. So it's been inspiring to see how clubs have been able to kind of navigate this space and find like ways to still do the same kind of projects or do new projects that, you know, they probably would have not been able to do before. So it's really, you know, when I see a club tell me about a project that is, you know, something completely novel to this situation, you know, it's something that's really, it gives you a little confidence in the human spirit, you know, to see how we can adapt and overcome and get through these challenges. So I have no worry then that our district will, you know, continue to be fruitful and do well going forward, you know, no matter what challenges come, you know. So, and I mean, there are people also, I would say, in my immediate circle, I think have been very much, you know, good drivers for you know, the district forward. People like Kareem French, who's the lead ADRR. I think he has been excellent, you know. So there are some people, I think the whole Rotaract committee this year has been so good, you know. I was actually, when I was looking at the statistics for some of the data and information that we've been going through this year, like I was looking at the committee, and it's about, of that committee, 15 of them actually past presidents. So after the 24, 15 past presidents, and 3 of them are president-elects, you know. So 18 out of the 24 are people who are like, you know, real leaders, you know, and it shows that they are so committed and so, so you know, supportive. So I think the actual district leadership is in really good hands. You know, half of them are from Barbados. You know, Mario. I'm sure Mario probably have the whole committee for next year. So yeah, but I think the Rotaractors in this district have some really very inspirational for sure.
Just a shameless plug, the district committee next year is a full mix-up and blend.
All right, wonderful. We have a question from our DRC, Giselle. She would like to know, what do you think is the greatest benefit and challenge of the Elevate Rotaract initiative? She'd like to hear from both of you on that. Kevin, you can go first.
Since I'm on this. You know, I also wonder, because I'm not sure, you know, any well-meaning initiative like this, you're never quite sure if it's going to have the intended effect. Because of course, there could be an instance where they have, you know, Rotaractors who don't want to leave the club because they so, you know, they love it, and understandably so. But you know, the transition is what we really want, and I myself, so I'm looking forward to eventually transitioning, but I don't feel the rush, and I hope that, you know, with this transition period that we want to have, where we allow people to kind of ease into Rotary, I hope that the intent, I hope the goal is actually achieved, you know, that it's not that they stay in Rotaract enough to say, okay, well, I really enjoyed that, and now I good, you know, like I do enough. So I'm not sure about, you know, I know some people might feel a little too comfortable sometimes in a space when you know, you ease regulation sometimes. So, but I just do hope that it is not the case, you know. But I don't know. I can't say for sure if that is a real worry.
All right, so like Kevin, I do echo the same sentiments. One of the biggest benefits is the larger, or the removing, sorry, of the age range, but it's also one of the biggest challenges, because ideally Rotaractors are supposed to move on to become the Rotarians of the next year, and it is something that's kind of going to hinder some persons moving on in a timely fashion. But it can also cause some divide within Rotaract clubs. That's why I'm glad that the district didn't enforce an age. I mean, it was up to clubs to put their own upper age limit in if they wanted to. Because the reason for me saying this is, for example, if you have a club of Rotaractors who start at 18, you have persons in the club who are there up until 42, there will be a divide. Persons who are more seasoned in their careers and they've progressed through their experiences have a more mature mindset. Not to say that the younger persons are immature, but the older persons have a more mature mindset. There will be a divide and difference within the club. And that family unit, that cohesiveness, that vibes that we all love and we respect, and that's what drew us mostly to Rotaract, is not going to be the same. So the removing of the age limit is a blessing and a curse, in my opinion.
Wonderful. Thank you for those contributions. And I think we'll go over to a question from Shauna, who has said that we have seen that due to the pandemic and COVID-19, a lot of persons have not been attending Zoom meetings. As the year progressed, the numbers became less. What would you do to improve participation online with your members? I could actually use some of that advice as well. So, yeah.
You know, this is a really interesting point, because funny enough, there are actually some clubs who have reported increased membership because of Zoom meetings, because it's so much more accessible, and you know, you could be at work or driving home and you could still log into your meetings and that kind of thing. So, you know, but of course, most clubs, I think the general trend is yes, with Zoom meetings, it's not as, you know, enjoyable. You're not getting to interact the same way. And my club is one of those clubs that feeds off each other. So we definitely have felt that also. So, and I think some clubs have found ways to make it a little more fun by trying to have little activities and things surrounding meetings to make it still a little more engaging, a little more fun. But yeah, it honestly, I don't know that if there's anything that can really replace that, you know, human connection.
That in-person vibes.
Yeah, you know, so I think it's just something maybe hopefully after a ride out, you know, vaccines around the corner, so hopefully we could get back to some normalcy soon, you know. But there are things that people have been trying, and it has been working for some clubs, but definitely I think, yeah, I think we just have to hopefully get around this virtual thing to get back to that level of intimacy.
And I completely agree. Being online, it makes it more accessible, yes. And the attendance rates have gone up, but the participation rate is something, one person online, they're listening, they're multitasking. So if we could find, I would suggest maybe some like different timing that persons are free to freely not just listen, but engage directly with whatever is going on. Because I've seen some clubs do some fantastic icebreakers online via Zoom and get the entire club involved. So icebreakers are one thing, but timing is also another. I myself, not really a big fan of icebreakers, but there's some that caught me this year. I had to get involved with it.
All right. So thank you very much for that. And I see another question here from Leah. There tends to be a notion that in our district, there's a Rotary district and a Rotaract district. How do you think that Elevate Rotaract will perpetuate this or serve to merge the two districts?
Okay, Ryan, you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so before the meeting started, you would have seen 3 different videos playing, speaking about Elevate Rotaract and what the Rotary district governors are pushing towards and are in full endorsement of the Elevate Rotaract standing. So to merge the 2 districts, what we are doing, or sorry, the 2 districts, air quotes, what we're doing is having Rotaractors mix up and with Rotarians on the district committees. It has found to be, from my knowledge, very great. The Rotaractors and the Rotarians are doing a lot. They're learning a lot from each other. And this notion of having a Rotaract district and a Rotary district is slowly but surely dissolving. I guess in the past, Rotaractors may have thought Rotary is Rotary and Rotaract is Rotaract, but we're actually just all one district. And having us serve together in the trenches, get down and dirty with one another, learn from each other, it's helping to quickly and quietly remove that divide.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on it a little bit, you know, it's really interesting because over the years, you've always had this you know,
I don't know how long I should let this go on. But yeah, I think that was remarkable advice, Kevan, and we really appreciate that contribution. But,
sorry.
Yeah, but go ahead. I think your video is back up now, so try again. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it's thick. Sorry. Well, what you up to? I don't know. So yeah, the idea that Rotaract clubs, young people want this autonomy to just do their own thing. But the truth is, I think, and this year for me particularly, I think the leadership style, I think of DG Lyle and DRC Giselle has been the method I think that works best. And I think DG Sonia is the same way. They're very inclusive, they're very conversational. It's always, it's one-to-one, it's never feeling like, somebody's instructing you to do something. And I think that's the thing that you need. You need to have that relationship. And I think once you have a good relationship, I think with the leaderships of both sides, you'll always have a better interaction, I think that communication has been constant this year. And I feel like that has definitely contributed to a good, that relationship. And I think, well, of course, Mario and Sonia in the same place, and I know they're going to be even better. So I think going forward, that's a big contributor to making that communication. Having that communication definitely helps that singular district, that feeling.
All right, well, thank you very much, Kevan. Thank you very much, Mario. And yeah, I am very much looking forward to moving in a direction where it's not a Rotary district or Rotaract district, but we really are just one, and we're well on the way to there. And I'm happy with where we're at and where we're going. I do not believe there are any more questions. So at this point in time, once again, thank you to DRRE Mario and DRR Kevan. And I will hand back to our moderator for this evening, Past President Albert.
Thank you very much, Everestus. Rotarians, Rotaractors, it cannot be said too many times that our youth are our future. Not only generally, but definitely in Rotary. We must have that pipeline which feeds early actors, interactors, and definitely Rotaractors into Rotary, and that connection and collaboration between Rotaract and Rotary. I'm very happy this evening to see our Youth Services Director from my own club sitting very proudly in Conference Central, taking this all in, because we can see that interest is very high. Rotarians, let us continue to nurture, support, and encourage our young people with all the good work that they are doing. But most of all, let us set that good example for them by our own behavior and by our own activities that we would be proud for them to emulate. Ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, Rotaractors, I wasn't joking when I said at the beginning that this conference had a very explosive start, and the word of it has been spreading far and wide. So wide that even Alexa has found out about our conference and decided to join in. But like many of us from time to time on Zoom meetings, she forgot to turn off her microphone. But we accept all participants, and I've been advised by our guys on the back end that Alexa did have an official registration, so she is legitimate in this particular conference. And while we are on the topic of technology, I would like to remind all of our participants that we do have a handheld app for the conference, which you can download for both the Apple and the Android platforms. It's available on iOS as well as in the Google Play Store. And it's very useful because you can see the entire schedule for the conference. You can see all of the conference speakers and read their bios. You can connect with other attendees. And of course, you can receive alerts on important matters that are taking place during the conference. So Rotarians, District 7030 Relay is on to help develop economies and communities in our district, to work on basic education and literacy, to pay attention to maternal and childhood health, to work on water and sanitation projects, and also to pay attention to disease prevention. These are some of the areas of focus of Rotary, and we will be hearing about projects that are taking place in these areas within our district in our session tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing as many of you as are here tonight and more at 6 p.m. tomorrow for our session, which will have presentations on many of the projects that are taking place in District 7030 during the upcoming Rotary and those which have also taken place in the past. So ladies and gentlemen, Rotarians, Rotaractors, thank you for being with us this evening. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you to all of the young people, all of the Rotaractors who participated. Thank you to everyone in Conference Central. Conference Central, are you there? And this is a strong message going out to all of the other Rotarians and Rotaractors in St. Lucia. Come down to Conference Central. This is where the action is taking place. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.